Hello, BookTube. Welcome to episode 100. Unlike most of you hippies out there, to use a phrase, I really like to. We're gonna have all the lovely noises in the backyard because it's Labor Day and we got to do some labor. Unlike a lot of people out there, I like to number my episodes. It gave me some sort of sense of accomplishment. I guess also some sort of sense of tracking, just that I wasn't drifting in this chaos of videos, even though it's a chaos of videos, but my videos are a chaos of numbered videos, thus putting me nowhere. But somehow those numbers in front of my titles give me comfort. So yes, welcome to episode 100. I was actually thinking about putting a review here, but then I realized, oh, it's episode 100, so I thought I'd stop and smell the roses and do a little Shakespeare TBR for the month, because I'm gonna do the Shaketube thing where Steve Donoghue, Totally Pretentious, and Old Blues Chapter and Verse, Jason, are hosting the BookTubeathon. Oh, and also Words Everywhere, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head, who's doing the sonnets. So I'm going to participate in that after having very steadfastly, said, no, I'm going to do my own thing. Well, I'm still going to do my own thing. So yes. So let's just do my Shakespeare TBR, and then I'll get along with all my reflections and stuff like that on having done 100 episodes. So yes, this week starting out, because I'm definitely going to do just the pick and choose thing of I'm going to seriously read one play a week, and try and kind of get a video out on that. I'm also planning on just sort of watching the other, if I can, I'm going to try and watch the other two Shakespearean plays. I'm going to watch all three of the plays. This week I'm doing Julius Caesar, and I've already watched an adaptation of it. It was a 1969 BBC one starring Robert Stephens and Edward Woodward. It's a play of the month on the BBC, and actually I really enjoyed the stripped down things. I actually prefer to avoid the movie versions of it, because I feel like the movie versions, they have to do that much more tightening, and I think that much more of a step away from the text that I like. Even though I kind of agree with Steve Donoghue, like, let's kind of get the general lay of the land with a production, and then try and dig into some of the language in whatever limited fashion you can. But I also like it still kind of feeling like a play, because the Shakespeare I've seen his play. So yes, I've watched Julius Caesar. I'm also going to try and make an effort to see the other two plays somewhere on YouTube or wherever else I can track it down this week, and just watch productions of that. I think even in a bad production sort of can give you a kind of a feel for the play. Just watching people have to, even if they don't say the words great, it's just getting them to say it. Actually, I really liked the production that I saw, and I'll leave a link to that production, because it was just a YouTube something. It was just a YouTube viewing of it. So I don't know how legal it is, but for whatever it is, a 1969 production, hopefully, that's the thing. So yeah, and then I think for week number 2, I'm going to do As You Like It, from Totally Pretentious. Sorry, I don't have your names written down. Number 3, I think I'll do Midsummer's Night's Dream, which I have a lot of good memories of. I saw that on the Victoria Fringe Festival here. They had it at a it was a good, like, it was like 20 years ago or whatever, but they did it in just a restaurant. And it actually worked really well. It was very bawdy. I'm sure it's very fast and loose, but I really enjoyed that. That it had a wonderful energy to it. It's funny. I think of like the productions I've seen of stuff. That actually ranks quite well up there, as well as Bard on the Beach in Vancouver. Them doing a production of King Lear. That's another one that really sticks out to me of Shakespeare I've seen. And then for week 4, it's either going to be The Tempest or Henry V. So, Henry V, do I have to go back and see Henry I, II, III, IV? And I hear the 4th has 2 parts. Like, man, that's a lot of commitment. Or The Tempest, which is definitely another, it's a one that I've seen quite a bit of, but I quite enjoy. So yeah, I'll have to see. I think I'm pretty sure Henry V, that's the Kenneth Branagh one, so I've seen the Kenneth Branagh one as well. We Lucky Few, is that one? Yeah. So yes, that, and I'm going to do the Words Everywhere. I'm not doing the full full bag of the sonnets. I'm going to do the selected sonnets. He's very kindly curated sort of a sonnet a day, and I can totally get behind a sonnet a day of something I can kind of. I find with poetry, I have to like read one poem and think about it and try and sink into it. And if I read a whole bunch, I just get overwhelmed and I go nowhere. Whereas at the moment, I think I've read three sonnets because it's September the 3rd. The first two pissed me off with all their breeder propaganda, but I'll get into that. And who knows? Shakespeare's such a tricky fellow. That's probably just my first surface reading anger there. I'm going to try and kind of movie or actually maybe even audiobook all the other plays that I'm not going to sit down with the text and read. I'll work up to what text I'm using for the Shakespeare thing. Start off with, yes, Shakespeare was first inflicted upon me in school by teachers who didn't really cut it. A part of my kind of fraught thing with education is just the whole thing of I think I missed a class on grammar, so my writing was atrocious for a long time. Unfortunately, that meant I got streamed into non-reader English, or English for kids who we don't expect you guys to ever actually crack open a book. And so we went through I think it was Hamlet, and it was like Hamlet for 5 weeks, and it was like an act a week or something like that, and just grinding through it, and it was so boring. And I think finally for one of my essays, this is thankfully this is like in the 80s, pre-Columbine, like all the kind of school shooting stuff. I wrote a essay. Instead of writing an essay, I wrote a short story that was a Shakespearean bloody revenge thing, where at the end of it, a figure who was very recognizably my teacher in the class was brutally murdered, stabbed to death, or something like that. And he corrected my grammar, and I think he gave me maybe a C-, and that was it. And he just I think there was some comment of like, that was okay. And nowadays, I'm sure I'd still be serving time for that. But yeah, I was an angry, frustrated young man who had no conception of grammar. But thankfully, I spent a summer between I spent a full summer in my 20s with a grammar book and taught myself grammar, and ended up in English and getting a BA in English, indeed. Where I had my most amazing experience with English, with a professor whose, of course, name I cannot remember now, who was an American fellow who came up for like the summer. And people were always talking about how lucky we were to have him, because he was like a fellow who put on Shakespeare plays, who was a scholar in the field. And that man took plays that I think I'd probably just kind of dismissed as a teenager, going through this grinding thing of this is symbolizing this and that's this, and he opened it up of all the beautiful layers of Shakespeare, the complexities, gave me a hint of why this guy's language, this guy's work, actually has survived all this time. And and as a result, because of that class, we got to have this, the complete works. What the heck? Arden's Shakespeare complete works. So I have everything. It's horribly unwieldy, and I can read it in bed. I probably will get horrible editions and put them on my phone for when I have time, when I'm not at home and stuff like that. But that's yes. This is what I'll be doing all my Shakespeare on, is my university book, which sits on my desk, and I put my keyboard on top of it, and I type on my standing, my very makeshift desk. So yeah, that's all my Shakespeare stuff. I guess the next thing is just like, I'm at 100 episodes. Have I learned anything? Actually, I think I have learned something, because while I was going to have my Fingersmith spoilerific episode next, and that I decided to do this, in part because the Fingersmith episode, for anyone out there who hasn't read it, don't watch it, because that is, and I mean that seriously, don't watch my Fingersmith review, because it will be a spoiler review. Truly, if you were going to do a review of Fingersmith and not make it spoiler, you would have to just talk in real generalities. And unfortunately, I'm a dullard who has to recite the entire plot of books, apparently, for me to be able to then talk about it briefly for, a couple of minutes at the end of my really long videos. So I decided to do this instead. But yeah, so I went, okay, well, I got super excited, and I talked. I went, wait a minute, okay, I'm not going to inflict this people on its number, episode 100. That'll be episode 101. But I was thinking about this. I know that some of you have talked about some of the feedback I've gotten for my J-Shayathon was like, oh, I take the dogs for a walk, and I'd sit somewhere, and I kind of chat, and I talk about, these are the books I'm reading, and kind of lightly talking on them. And people were, I think I got a couple of comments which were like, oh, sort of like nice, relaxed, kind of like, oh, you're just kind of chatting to the camera. And after I completed my my super fast, I'm super excited about Fingersmith, I went, oh, yeah, I get super excited, and I talk mile a minute, and I try and cram everything into my reviews, which must be a little bit hard to watch. Sometimes must be a little bit frustrating to watch. And it must be nice to just have me kick back and just talk at a regular voice, regular speed, and maybe that's something I can think about going forward. It only took me 100 episodes to figure that out, but this is my learning speed. First 100 episodes, John learned maybe he should slow down, take a breath, just let the viewer sink in. And I mean, the thing is, I could slow down, take a breath, go at a slower speed, and then you can just put me to like 1.25 or 1.5. Not saying that I might do that with people who talk slower, but they actually still have that kind of calm aspect, even if you've sped them up. So if I start talking too slow, don't unsubscribe, just kick up my speed a little bit, and hopefully it'll be a nice nice medium. So I came on to BookTube hoping to find a sympathetic reader. I think I watched my first episode, and I'm talking about, oh, I wanted that sympathetic reader, sympathetic viewer, talking about, I had a picture of a sympathetic fellow looking out from a black and white photograph, and him being black and white and safely dead. And I found viewers who are neither black and white or safely dead, who are living sympathetic viewers. And we've already done the community. I've already done the community BookTube tag and given everybody a big hug for that. But yes, again, just that's been a super pleasant thing for BookTube. And yeah, I've done a lot of reviews, and I regret none of them. And I don't know if I'll ever get them faster, or I think maybe my next great step is going to be to somehow figure out to do the pithy summary at the beginning, because at the moment I have to admit, about 3/4 of my reviews, if not more, are me summing up the plot. I hope sometimes I'm inserting opinions within my summary of the plot, but a lot of it is summing up the plot. The next spoilerific episode is plot, character plot. But I really enjoyed that book, and I totally encourage you to go out and read that book. And if you don't take just my word for it, take Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. Recommendation on that. He said, oh, this is a book you should read, and it was like, that's a book I already picked up, and I said, sure, I'll do that. And that happened to nicely coincide with all my other with my J-Shayathon, my 2 weeks of just reading, which is another nice kind of discovery late in the day to figure out for myself, is just that I wanted to, I'm just getting the sun, just is a nice discovery late in the day, is just like, making sure that I don't lose track of reading in this era of media and stuff like that. And surprisingly enough, BookTube is sometimes I think people can get lost in the kind of production side of things, or in the interactions and all that, which is super great. But I want that, it's I found it's actually been quite good at feeding into, hey, I want to read Shakespeare. I'm gonna have a month of Shakespeare, and so that's another nice project, and I'm looking forward to having fun with that and hearing all about everyone else's Shakespeare. And here's to another 100 videos, which you can watch at your own discretion. I thank goodness nobody forces anyone. You can pick and choose, which I think is another beauty of BookTube. Is I can really love someone and go, well, okay, they're talking about this time. That's not for me, but I'll check back in the next video. And soon enough around, you touch, but you lightly touch with people. And that's great. Unless it's Steve Donoghue, and in which case we're all bound and contracted to watch every single one of his videos. I'm pretty sure there was some kind of box I had to tick that said that. So yes. So watch Steve Donoghue. Watch all of Steve Donoghue's videos. Watch a few of mine. Watch all the videos of like all the other really super intelligent, super thoughtful, entertaining, warm, lovely people that are on this channel on BookTube. More videos later. Oh, but look out for that Fingersmith one and avoid it like the plague if you haven't read it, or if you have read it, well, same warnings apply as usually for my videos. More videos later. Bye.